Hey guys, welcome back to Janet Global and thank you so much for joining me. If you're new in this channel, mostly I do fragrance reviews. I talk about different fashion designers all over the world. We also have another segment called Light Convos where we do have different conversations on various topics. So previously, I done a video about my first job experience, my humble beginnings. So I'm still on that topic, and I had talked about I had where the place that I had volunteered, how it went. It went well. So still the same place that I had volunteered, I went there for attachment. My attachment time uh, we were given attachment time period in fourth year, and it was just for a month. So I went for that attachment, and it was so minimal because I think they had joined 2 years, so they were rushing the years. So during my attachment, I was recording news and doing voiceovers. But then there is this guy who was posted in a different branch in another county of the same radio station. This radio station was a Christian radio station. So he was posted in another county and he was doing a program at night called Blessed Moments. So I was given that program. It used to run between 10 p.m. to midnight. Before, I used to go home, like I used to commute from that place. By then in 2014, I'll just use fare like 30 bob, 30, 60 bob to and fro. But now that I was given that night program, I was given a place to stay with my other colleagues. So I used to do that program called Blessed Moments. And in my previous video, I had mentioned I really looked up to people like Catherine Donye and Angela Angwenyi. So I would listen to them and I would really get excited hearing them on radio. So I gave it my all during that blessed moment, even though it was my first time. But in radio, the more you do it, the more you work on it, the more you build on your confidence, the more you just learn how to operate everything there. So the first week, my supervisor Jackie Rungu took me through the how to operate the microphone, how to switch between the music and when you want to talk, how to fade in, how to fade out, all that. So with practice, you get confident, and they left me all alone in studio. So I used to do. Actually, I remember I would even do news. If I don't get someone who would do news at 9, I would read news. Then after news, I do from 10 to midnight, and I really liked the job. I really felt very fulfilled. So this day was posted, so I am the one during attachment. I was given that program, and I would play good music like Casting Crowns and Hillsong United, and touch on different topics, life topics like power of words, um, not to get discouraged, just different life topics, but you play Christian music now that it was a Christian radio station. And I would play Hillsong because at night those were good songs that they would make someone like feel good after maybe a long day at work and all that. So I did well. There were a few challenges here and there. I made a few mistakes, but they had to guide me on how to go about it with the my supervisors. So I had a very good time at Imani Radio. So when my attachment was almost coming to an end, my lecturer came to assess me. Actually, were two of us from our university. One was doing good Swahili, and I think he was in radio. He's a very good producer right now. Hiram, Hiram. He's a very good producer right now, and I think he's still in radio. So our lecturer assessed us, and we went back. And I really liked their Timani. I had very, very good supervisors. Head of radio was nice. And I have never had a very healthy working environment like that place. These people took me like their younger sister. They guided me where I was wrong. they showed me there was unity. Sikuwa nasikia ati ladies nini nini. They were good people. I enjoyed my time there. I did my work well, and I looked forward to going back to that place. So I went back to uni, finished my fourth year in August. We finished in August, but we were supposed to graduate in December. So I was like, between December, these 3 months, I cannot just be there idle. Hey, God. I, I, I went back and looked for something to do. First, I heard there was a vacancy in public. I think, I specified in public relations. Public relations, you can work in a communication center, you can work as customer care because you're taught how to communicate and how to handle people. So there was a vacancy introduced at a certain college in Eldoret, Alphax College, customer relations officer. So I applied for that job. But I think when I applied, now that my papers were not I had not yet had my certificate and transcripts. I was hopeful. I was wishing that they could take me, but then I was taken in as an intern under public relations because the position was available. Now, at Imani, when I went, the place was full. So I had two options, whether I sit and wait till those people who are in attachment go, or I go to Alphax, where I actually, for internship, they interviewed me and I passed that interview. So I had an option of waiting or going to Alphax. So I went to Alphax, and I opted to go to Alphax and do that internship. It's good to also try different things because both I wasn't guaranteed for a job, but I felt like it would be good if I try different things so that I can know what I can do. So I went to Alphax and I started my internship. Now, I didn't have a place to stay. Previously, Alphax, I did a short course in photography and I stayed at my aunt's place. She was still in in Eldoret. So I asked her if I could come. So she said, yeah, it's okay, you can come and stay. But now they have transferred me from Eldoret to Nakuru. So you have to look for a place, where you can stay. So I said, it's okay. So I contacted few people in Eldoret. There is a lady I found. We studied with her in high school. She had just finished her campus too, and she was doing some job there in Eldoret. And she said it's okay. So I asked her, my aunt will relocate, but I can stay with her. But when she relocates, I can come and stay with you. Then we talked about how much we can cost share in rent. And she said, we agreed on how much I'll contribute to pay rent. You cannot stay at someone's place, especially if they're not your relative. If they host you, you have to try and at least get something. You cost share rent, even food you can buy, because it's good. It's a good thing to do. So we agreed. She said, we agreed when my aunt moves, I will stay with her. So I went and started my internship as a public relations officer at Alphax College, and I was staying at my aunt's place. So I don't know if it was supposed to take like 6 months. So in August, September, October, November. In August, I was there till November. No, sorry, August. I was still there, September. Then in October, I think now my aunt, I don't know, she didn't like, I knew she was supposed to relocate. I think she was organizing herself on when she would leave. So I think I got comfortable. But I knew she had told me she was supposed to relocate from Eldoret to Nakuru. Now, this part that I'm going to talk about is not about my workplace. It's about thinking where I've come from, my humble beginnings. It's actually about my humble beginnings. And I really, really respect this path, the path. I've worked. Now, I knew she was supposed to relocate, but I think I got comfortable and I didn't know it was when it was supposed to happen. So we would talk. She would ask me now, where do you want to go and live? She suggested at a hostel, and I was like, no, I'm not comfortable because I was an intern. Then I go and stay with students at the hostel. It didn't like make sense. It didn't sound right. I don't know. I don't know the right word to use, but I felt like I was uncomfortable. But I had a cousin who was a student there. She was doing a CPA. Yeah, so we were still working on few. We were thinking of a few things how we'll go about it. And when she told me she's almost moving, I called this lady that we had talked about, this lady that we had studied with, the one that we had agreed on amount that we could cost share. So we talked, and she told me she has moved from Eldoret to Nairobi, and she did not tell me. It's not that it was a must for her to tell me, but I feel she would have told me so that I start kujipanga, you see, because all my hopes were there. I knew if my aunt moves, so I talked to her. I had gone to her place, I'd seen that place, and we talked how much I would be contributing. So she left. So I'm there wondering now what to do. So where I'll move if my aunt moves from Eldoret. So my aunt was like, can you go and live at the students' hostel? I was like, no, auntie, okay, it wasn't like, imagine you're an intern, not a student. Then you go there. I was like, no, 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 no. So when I was still like thinking of an idea, I was still, and I couldn't, by then I couldn't think of renting a house. I felt like I was volunteering. I didn't think by then of now I told my dad, when I come from home, you'll be sending me this amount of money because I budgeted with this lady. So I didn't think of talking to him and telling him things, have changed and all that. I felt like my siblings were still in school. I'll be adding a lot of responsibilities for him. Like if I tell him now, you'll have to start paying for me rent, water, electricity, and all that, you see. Um, to me, I felt like I cannot tell him to do all that. I didn't want to bother my dad. So I just left it and I said, I'll just figure a way out. So for him, he'll just start paying, sending me the money that we had agreed on earlier. Now, one day I was just I left from my aunt's place to work. Then my aunt called me, I think it was around 11, and she told me, Janet, I've moved. I've relocated. And your things, I've, I've put them in our opposite neighbor's house. Now, I had seen that neighbor, but we were just like, hi, hi, all that. And she wasn't around most of the times. So in the evening, I went and I didn't have a place to stay. I was like, well, my things are there. I didn't know what to do. I thought of going to sleep at the hostel. I didn't know. I went to the house. The house was empty. The carton box were there, and I was like, or maybe I should just sleep in this house, in these carton boxes there. Now I didn't have a place like to sleep that night. Another option was maybe to go to sleep with my cousin at my cousin's place. I think I did that at some point. Now, this lady hosted me for that night. This is a stranger. I really wish I could remember that lady's face. Right now, I can't remember her. But I wish I could remember that face. I can't even remember her name. That is so bad. But wherever she is, I pray to God that God blesses her because she came through for me when I didn't have a place to sleep that night. So she hosted me. When she hosted me, I started thinking of ideas of where I would move to. So she hosted me. I think it was a weekend or Friday or something, Saturday, Sunday.